Assalamualaikum and good day to Dr. Noshidra and Dr. Noor Ain. My name is Noor Ain binti Saufi, and today I'll be presenting my proposal with the title Factors Contributing to Speaking Anxiety, a study between LG240 and LG243 students of APB UITM. So a little bit of background about this study. As we know, English language has long been used in Malaysia along with the Malay language, and even after the Federation of Malaya had achieved its independence in 1957, but the use of English was still preserved. And according to Thirusanku and Melo 2014, English is regarded as the second language as documented in the education policy and planning. And the use of English is also very important nowadays in Malaysia, as it is widely being used in the tertiary education level and also as a communication tool in the business field, as stated by Thirusanku and Melo 2012. And besides, a study by Shahariah and Siti Fatimah 2018 also found that speaking is the most important English skill needed in the working industry. So we can see that having the ability to speak English well is extremely important nowadays. But despite that, there are still some people who are not confident and feel anxious whenever they have to speak English. The use of English in our country is very important, and we are expected to be able to write and speak well in English. But according to David et al. 2015 and Rusrina et al. 2018, even though Malaysians have been learning the formal English lessons in school for 11 to 13 years, but their language competency is still far from satisfactory, and students would usually avoid speaking in English, and instead they will communicate in their original language when they find it hard to express their point in English, as cited by Kashinathan and Azlina 2021. And Noor et al. 2019 also mentioned that students tend to remain silent throughout the language learning process, as they do not want to embarrass themselves by making mistakes when responding. And besides, students are also afraid of being under-evaluated by their teachers and having their mistakes being pointed out in the whole class, which can lead to personal embarrassment, as cited by Noor et al. 2019. So most of the studies were conducted on students with low or average level of English proficiency. So in this study, we will be identifying the factors that cause the speaking anxiety among the proficient English language learners, as it is believed that these students also face some situations that can lower their confidence when speaking in English, considering that English is not our first language. So therefore, this study will be looking further into the issues of English language speaking anxiety that happens in Malaysia, specifically among the LG240 and LG243 students from APB UITM Shah Alam. And students from these programs are the English major students, so they are expected to be proficient in English. There are two research objectives in this study. The first one is to identify the perceived speaking anxiety level between LG240 and LG243 students from APB of UITM. And the second research objective is to investigate the perceived factors that cause the speaking anxiety between LG240 and LG243 students from APB of UITM. So for the significance of this study, as this study focuses on the level of English language speaking anxiety and the factors that cause speaking anxiety, so therefore the results from this study will be very helpful, especially to English language teachers and lecturers in developing and planning a suitable teaching method that suits the students' need, so that all students can play their part and participate well in the activities conducted in class. And besides, with the improved teaching style, this can also help the students to improve their speaking skills, which later would help to reduce their level of speaking anxiety. So this study would primarily benefit educators, as it would help them to conduct a more successful teaching and learning method, which later would also give benefits to students. English language speaking anxiety can be caused by a lot of factors, and it would usually affect those with low level of English language proficiency. So this study will be conducted to examine the English language speaking anxiety among the LG240 and LG243 students from APB. And students from these groups are actually the English major students. So this study aims to identify the speaking anxiety level between LG240 and LG243 students from APB, and the factors that contribute to the speaking anxiety by adopting the Foreign Language Classroom Anxiety Scale Questionnaire by Horwitz et al. 1986. And later, interviews will be conducted to get a more in-depth and detailed data from the students about what causes their speaking anxiety. So this study will be adopting the Horwitz and Cope's theory of foreign language anxiety as the theoretical framework. And according to Calcutta 2015, Horwitz and Cole were the first researchers to address the language learning anxiety issue. And they also introduced an anxiety measuring instrument named Foreign Language Classroom Anxiety Scale, which is also known as FLCAS. And CUNV 2017 also mentioned that FLCAS was originally used to measure the anxiety level of foreign language learners, but now it has been widely used to measure foreign language or second language learners' anxiety. And FLCAS, it comprises of three components, which are communication apprehension, fear of negative evaluation, and test anxiety. So for the conceptual framework, there are several factors that contribute to speaking anxiety, which have been identified by other researchers. For example, having a low self-confidence. So according to Foss and Ritzel 1991, as cited in Subasi 2010, learners with low self-confidence perceive themselves as less worthy than others and perceive their communication as less effective than that of their peers and expect continued failure no matter what feedback they actually received. And next is due to the lack of proper support from the teachers. So Subasi 2010 found that the teachers' attitudes towards the mistakes done by students during speaking and also towards them in general were one of the factors that caused the students to experience speaking anxiety. And next is level of linguistic competence. This is because people tend to criticize other people's English proficiency based on their grammatical accuracy when speaking. And next is negative evaluation. So according to Suparlan 2021, students fear of others' evaluations and expect that their classmates would evaluate them negatively. So as we can see, all of these factors are related to the three components that were included in the FLCAS questionnaire, which are the communication apprehension, fear of negative evaluation, and test anxiety. The study will be adopting the mixed research method, where it comprises of both qualitative and quantitative method. So this study will be using the questionnaire method for the quantitative approach and interview method for the qualitative approach. And the participants for this study will be the students from LG 240 and LG 243 from APB of UiTM Shah Alam, where these students are the English major students. And based on the calculation using an online sample size calculator from calculator.net, it is found that the number of participants that should be employed in this study is 292. And the study will also be adopting the voluntary sampling design, as it will be more convenient for the researcher to get respondents from the two programs. And there will be two methods of data collections, which are questionnaire and interview. So the study will be using the Foreign Language Classroom Anxiety Scale Questionnaire, or known as FLCAS by Horwitz et al. 1986. And FLCAS consists of 33 items, which can be categorized into three main components, such as communication apprehension, fear of negative evaluation, and test anxiety. And this study will also be using interview method in order to obtain richer and more in-depth data from the respondents by adopting and adapting the FLCAS questionnaire into the interview questions. The questionnaire questions will be generated using Google Form, and this method would be highly helpful to the researcher to keep track of all the data collected from it. And the interview session will be conducted online, as it will be more convenient for both the researcher and the respondents. And this study will be conducted during the October 2022 until February 2023 of UiTM's academic session. And to answer the first research question, The responses from the questionnaire will be analyzed using the descriptive statistics analysis method. And to answer the second research question, the responses from the questionnaire will be analyzed using t-test analysis method, and it would also be supported using the responses from the interviews. And that is all from me. Thank you.